Hello, everybody. Welcome into the Paul Farrington Show. Robert Ziggy Ziegler here from Harvard University, coming in for another solo react. Once again, I apologize that the quality is probably a little bit lower than you're used to. Paul decided to just abandon his job. Apparently, he had a wedding to go to, and this is more important than reacting to preseason football. Um, I can't totally say I understand that, but that's okay. That's why I signed my big contract last offseason. That's why I'm here, so that you can find out exactly what you should think about the Green Bay Packers preseason game against the Jets. And if you saw any bit of that game, you probably don't need me to tell you what to think about that. We'll do sort of a full overview of what happened for the first four drives, I would say, because that's when the starters were in. And unlike a lot of preseason games, actually, you got to see basically all the Jets starters versus basically all the Packers starters. So while it's preseason, while obviously not everything's 100%, teams are trying things a little bit differently. Obviously, they were into it. You can see that when Zach Tom got into a brawl after just a few plays. Obviously, it's the best players for both teams out there. So it's a little bit more representative than what you've seen in a lot of other preseason games. Though if you're a Packers fan, I have to imagine you hope it doesn't, because it sure looked in this game like the same issues the Green Bay Packers had last year are here to stay. Now, the good news is this is why you have preseason, right? The reason you have preseason games, the reason why you give guys reps is so that you can try and work on overcoming some of those issues. But what were the themes from this game? Wide receiver drop after wide receiver drop, even when they were wide open. A defense that couldn't stop anybody, where Justin Fields looked like he was having the game of his career. Wide open holes up the middle, a defensive line that couldn't get past pressure. All the issues you might have had with the Packers were here at the start of this game. Now, look, I'm a Vikings fan. Obviously, I'd like to see these issues continue into the season. I don't think they will necessarily for reasons we'll get into. But first, it's worth reviewing just a little bit play by play about how these two drives went. And then we can talk a little bit more about what I think the best takeaways are from this game. So, I just want to put you, it's the first drive for the Green Bay Packers. The offense has the ball. You're starting with it. It's the beginning of the season. What do you not want to see? Play one, Romeo Dobbs drop because he's beaten by Sauce Gardner. Play three, another Romeo Dobbs misfire. Again, shut down. Jordan Love walks onto him and you have a three and out. Okay, maybe the defense will be able to do something. Maybe they can get a stop. That's not there. While Isaiah McDuffie did a good job in run defense, I thought he looked really impressive this game. Edrin Cooper has a misfire in pass coverage that leads to a big completion. Eventually, you're able to slow the Jets down a little bit, but it's tough sledding to get there. Okay, offense gets the ball back. First play again. Malik Heath, wide open, drop. The thing that actually turns around the Packers offense, I think the one thing that was a bright spot that fans should be looking out for. Matthew Golden made a great play on 3rd and 6 to keep the drive going. Now, again, that drive didn't go anywhere because Jordan Love on the next set of downs tried to scramble like he was Lamar Jackson, ended up taking a sack. But even though it was just one play, Matthew Golden was clearly the go-to guy when they needed a play. And unlike Romeo Dobbs, he was able to get it done. A few plays later, he's running basically, he takes over Romeo Dobbs' spot, runs basically the exact same slant route matched up against Sauce Gardner. The difference is this time, instead of Sauce getting a hand on the ball, batting it down, Matthew Golden is able to draw pass interference. Now, it's not going to show up on the stat sheet, but again, that's two plays on that drive where Matthew Golden was asked to make a play and did. That's why this guy gets to be pulled out with the starters when all the other rookies rotate in. Matthew Golden, I think we saw tonight, will clearly be starting for this team. They clearly think he's one of the best three wide receivers. Tonight, he looked like the best receiver on the whole team. Now, again, it was two drives. That's a pretty limited sample size, especially when you have to pull the offense out because it's preseason. But you follow that up with your defense giving a touchdown to Justin Fields, generating very few negative plays. It just did not look good on either side of the ball. So, should Packers fans be worried about this game? I think there's a couple things to take away from it. One is the reason that preseason exists, the reason that you have all this, the reason that you do all these reps is to overcome these issues. The fact that you have two bad drives in preseason means very little for the regular season. So I know if you're a Packers fan, you're sure not feeling good about this. You'd rather see him come out like JJ McCarthy and throw for 500 yards and 10 touchdowns. Okay, I'll be serious. You'd still rather see him play pretty well. But even though that doesn't happen, that tells you basically nothing about what's going to happen in the regular season. Because again, even in the preseason, coaches aren't calling plays that they think have the best opportunity. Maybe you've had issues with like fullback sweeps during practice. So you're going to run a bunch of fullback sweeps during the preseason game. Now, obviously, that's not what the Packers did, but the general principle of running plays that you've struggled with in practice and live game time in preseason is a very common one every NFL coach uses. So you can't look at the successes and failures just on these plays and use that to project out into the season. On the other hand, though, the Packers are going to need to play better. It is not particularly promising to see exactly the same issues that have plagued them for basically all of last year show up again in exactly the same way. And that's where I think you've got to be excited about Matthew Golden. Because if Jaden Reed and Malik Heath and all these receivers are going to keep making the same mistakes, if Romeo Dobbs is going to start dropping the ball even more than he did last season, I know that he hardly led the team in drops last year, but this is a guy who was top 15 in the NFL among wide receivers in drop rate. The Packers wide receivers had a lot of trouble. Seeing Matthew Golden get in, snag a tough catch, draw a pass interference call, and just in general play like the kind of receiver they need is a huge boon. Again, I know it was only a couple of plays that we got to see him, but I was very impressed from what we saw from him this game. I think Golden's absolutely going to have a chance to have the wide receiver one job very early on in the season if things play like this. So that much is good news. But Jordan Love needs to play better. You can't take a drive killing sack. You can't fixate on Romeo Dobbs if he's not going to be the guy. The defense needs to play better. You have to be able to secure the middle of the field. You're going to need to generate pass pressure. Now, I know Justin Fields is a very mobile quarterback. And actually, one play they were able to really pressure Justin Fields, but that middle of the field issue shows up and he's able to run it in for a touchdown, even though the pass rush more or less gets there. So you just need the levels of the defense to play consistently. Now, again, you are missing some of your key players. If Xavier McKinney is in there, I think that things look very different. I have a hard time seeing Justin Fields busting open for a touchdown. But just in general, you're going to need more coordination from the different levels of the defense, and you're going to need players to step up. I'm certainly not going to say doom and gloom because Edgerrin Cooper slipped on a play, but during the regular season, you just cannot have that. So it's not a very promising preseason game from the Packers. Funny enough, Paul, because he's gone, sent me over a package of titles and thumbnails, and basically all of them talked about how Jordan Love dominated. He didn't. I hate to say it. I would have liked to see a good game from Jordan Love. He's a player I root for. He's a player I like to see do well, except when he's playing the Vikings. But the offense just wasn't there tonight. It wasn't play calling, it was just execution, and you've got to do better than that. Now, look, I'll say it one more time. It's preseason. Do not freak out. Do not worry. Do not think this means that the Packers are in trouble for next season. But I mean, we'll see week one. My guess is, if I were LaFleur, I would seriously consider after this playing the starters in next week's preseason game too. Because a lot of these errors looked like basic execution errors, things that could be fixed with just a little bit more time. If your wide receivers are dropping the ball, get them more passes. If Jordan Love is taking a sack because he thinks he's that guy, remind him that while he might be that guy throwing, he's not that guy on the ground. If your defense is just making some errors covering the middle of the field, get them more reps, right? Like on the basis of this team looked a little bit rusty. I think more reps wouldn't necessarily hurt them, but we'll see. This might have been the last time we see the starters before week one. And I mean, we don't know exactly what Detroit's going to look like with these losses of coordinators, but you cannot have a start like this. A three and out into a barely starting drive that eventually fizzles out. You cannot do that against the Detroit Lions week one. They are exactly the sort of team that can take that kind of start and turn it into a 14-0 lead, and suddenly it feels like you're out of the game. We saw them do that to so many teams last year. So if you're Green Bay, those execution issues need to get fixed now. Now, again, I'm not worried. I think they can. I think there's plenty of things to be optimistic about. And again, I want to reiterate, even though it was only a couple of plays, I was very impressed with Matthew Golden. But this isn't good enough. It's that simple. This is not good enough for the Green Bay Packers. If they want to be a Super Bowl team next year, you have got to play better than this when it's starters on starters in the preseason. In any case, We'll see how this does. I know I was expecting the Packers to look better. I'm sure you were too, but it is what it is. It's week one of the preseason. You've still got a few weeks to figure things out. But before you know it, less than a month, Green Bay, Detroit, football, it'll be here. Any case, if you enjoyed this video, if you didn't enjoy this video, I don't really care if you enjoyed the video or not. If you click that like button, if you leave a comment, if you press the subscribe button, let me know if you want more Solo Ziggy shows. As the season goes on, we may be getting that. If it were me, I would say no Solo Ziggy shows. It's tough to be up here without Paul. I mean, Paul's really a master of the craft. You all have surely figured that out. But this is what we got. When you got the Green Bay Packers preseason, who are you going to go to but Ziggy? So that's it for this episode. We will be back either Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. We'll see if we record one more time this weekend, but probably we'll have a show coming out Tuesday morning. Usual NFL stuff. And we keep saying it, but it's still true. We have some really exciting stuff to announce over the next couple of weeks for the NFL. So thank you for watching this. Let me know what you think if you're freaking out about the Green Bay Packers, and I will see you for the next episode.